does everyone hate Murfreesboro? Is it the amount of traffic and how difficult it is to get around town? Is it the lack of walkability to restaurants and coffee shops? Or is it the number of college kids that actually live in the city? Now, Clay and I didn't want to make this video, but we felt the need to set the record straight. Let's get into it.
Tucker, what is going on in Murfreesboro?
Well, everyone has an opinion, Clay. I thought we would take some time and really break down what kind of conversations we're having with people, especially in our comment section. So we thought that we might answer a few of these, and one being traffic. And when you look at how Murfreesboro is growing, you definitely can see between Old Fort Parkway and Medical Center, those are two heavy corridors that do back up with traffic.
Yeah, the traffic is definitely real. If you live there, you get it. What do people do about this? What is the solution?
That's mainly in the core of Murfreesboro, and you start to see how everything's really growing along the outer skirts. When we really start with a lot of our clients, depending on their needs, we really look at the Blackman area. This is everything that's really south of I-24 and south of 840. They've really added a lot of infrastructure. You have a lot of great neighborhoods that we're going to get into later. You're also starting to see your coffee shops and some of your key things coming along. Plus your neighborhoods, they've got sidewalks.
Depending on where you are in Murfreesboro, you may or may not experience heavy traffic. So that's the west side of 24 is kind of where we're talking about, and depending on, again, where do you work? Where's your commute take you to? You can solve a lot of problems with how far away from the interstate are you and how far from shopping are you based on what part of Murfreesboro you're really going to start looking at, right?
Well, absolutely. Now, there's a lot of people that do work in the core of Murfreesboro because there's a lot of people that work with the healthcare system or for the county seat of Rutherford County. You can really live on the north side, and there's a lot of great neighborhoods. But there's a lot of people that continue to move to Murfreesboro because of the affordability, and they're trying to either get to downtown Nashville or over to Franklin. That's why that Blackman community does really well, because you have easy access to I-24 plus all the 840 going over to Franklin.
I'm a huge fan of the 840 loop. That's only a few years old, but it really connects you all the way over to Williamson County, connects you to Cool Springs, to Franklin. So if you happen to be working in that region, you can get there pretty quick compared to 10 years ago. Now, if you're going to downtown Nashville, it's kind of one way out. 24 is going to be your main corridor, but if not, 840 has really solved a lot of problems for a lot of people. And for that reason, it's also developing out all along there. You'll see neighborhoods right up on 840 as you go towards, the I-65.
Yeah, and sure, Clay. And that's also why you see, just like with any opportunity, there's a lot of opportunity to find that home that you're looking at. Anything between 400 and 800,000. There's a lot to choose from. And if you want something brand new, you want something you want to fix up a little bit, both those options are there. And so from that reason, when you pick up those benefits, one of the things that you kind of miss out on is a good interstate system. I-24 is probably the roughest interstate system that runs through Nashville.
Tucker, I thought Murfreesboro was a college town. Is it more than just a college town?
It is. It does have about 26,000 students. There's kind of a core of Murfreesboro that really facilitates all their needs and everything. But Murfreesboro is so much more than that. There was a time when Rutherford County, Murfreesboro was a lot smaller, that school really made up a bigger portion of it. But I will share that one of the things that you get with Murfreesboro is because you have so many college students that are constantly there, that really helps flatten out the economy. So if you ever hit rough times here, that city continues to do well and thrive.
Dude, I love college towns. They provide stability, they provide bodies and commerce and a youthful vibe. So everything around that Middle Tennessee State University campus is going to have all those things going for it, on top of a lot of just people there to feed the businesses. And to me also, it's right there by the historic part of Murfreesboro, the square. Who doesn't love old historic squares? Like, that's one of the coolest parts of Murfreesboro to me. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And it's thriving, by the way. It's not a bunch of abandoned shops or anything. I mean, it does very well. Don't forget, you also have Jazz Fest that's downtown. And that's really a big thing. You can look more into that if you're into jazz. But that school continues to grow and thrive. Part of it is a little bit older. You have to remember, Murfreesboro is a pretty old city. It's been there a very long time. It used to be the capital of the state of Tennessee.
Yeah, that's a fun fact for sure. The Civil War, there was battles fought all around there. That's really the history of Murfreesboro. Going back to the Civil War, there's a couple of really old mansions that they do tours on, and certainly battlefields, cemeteries, that kind of stuff. It's all part of Murfreesboro.
Well, it is. If you decide that you don't want to live near any of that, there's so many different areas that we've really covered. And then that really gets us into the neighborhoods. So, if you're looking for that 1,500 square feet, 3 bedroom, 1, 2 car garage with underground utilities and sidewalks, you can look at the West Wind neighborhood. You're going to really get all those pieces. They connect to other subdivisions as well. This is in the Blackman area. And then also you have to remember that you have Magnolia Grove, which also is connected to several others. Those are your little bit bigger homes. You're thinking about 2,500 square feet. You're gonna be closer to 475, 500,000. So plenty of options to choose from. Plus everything's within 1 or 2 years old.
I gotta say, my favorite places when I'm in Murfreesboro is go to Andy's, get Andy's custard. It's like frozen custard shop. If you're in the area, there's usually a line around the building because it's so good. Highly recommend it. They've got some kind of recipe figured out, and it's just like blizzards and kind of like an ice cream deal. It's really, really popular and it's great.
So if you are near the campus, I would go by the Slick Pig. It's really just a well-known barbecue place. It is a hole in the wall. Just remember that, but the food is absolutely amazing. But when we talk about food and we talk about restaurants, it really kind of goes to one of the other things that people struggle with at Murfreesboro is the amount of walkability. Now, I feel like Medical Center, that whole area, that whole corridor is really changing. And I think as we see more development all along that corridor, especially living quarters, you're going to get a little bit more of that walkability.
Yeah, walkability is possible in Murfreesboro. It's not what everybody goes for. I actually have a brother that lives in Murfreesboro, and they went the route of a hobby farm, 5 to 7 acres kind of property. They have these farms and they divide them up and they'll auction them off, 5 acres at a time. And he went and built a house there. You have wildlife all around you. You see deer and turkey in the front yard. Like that is not far from downtown Murfreesboro, 10, 12 minutes away. You can be out in what feels like the countryside. Las Casas, some of these little outskirt areas around Murfreesboro are pretty appealing if you like that lifestyle. If you want to, have a truck and a barn and do all the farm stuff, you can. It's right there for you.
And that's actually what we like about Murfreesboro is there are rooftops and there's plenty to choose from. So depending on what housing option you want or investment option, you have all of that. You have plenty of duplexes. You have the townhouse community. You have the fourplexes, the 2-story fourplexes you can purchase. That's definitely a conversation when we talk about 1031 exchanges, because we do talk about Murfreesboro and we do talk about Clarksville.
Yeah, my brother has been buying rental properties in Murfreesboro. He especially likes that downtown. I like the historic areas. I feel like they always do, traditionally do really well. And they're putting money into the downtown Murfreesboro. So anything around there is pretty interesting. And certainly the prices still can work as rentals a little bit better than in Nashville. And I will say this also, depending on where you are in Murfreesboro, they have septic systems. We had a customer buying a house in Murfreesboro recently. We recommend the septic inspections and they found some issues. There was actually somebody had put an above ground pool on top of the septic field lines and it caused some problems. So you always want to check that stuff out. We're big fans of doing that diligence, getting to the bottom of things and figuring out if there's a problem or not, because if you're on a septic system, you want to make sure it's functioning properly. And those things have some intricacies, some nuances to go through. And that's part of what we do sometimes on these properties, right?
Well, absolutely. And speaking of pools, didn't you just have a listing that sold in Murfreesboro, had a pool, walkable community? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we have a sweet couple, some clients that have been there for a long time, looking and actually went to the lake instead. Empty nesters, kids out of the house, and had that freedom of place. And so they opted to go down to the lake, and we sold them a house at the lake, and we sold their house in Murfreesboro right there. Brick house, mostly 1 story, pool, the whole setup, and it was under $750,000. And it was an amazing house, great neighborhood. You go through there and it's just the kind of place you feel really comfortable. And so we had lots of interest in it. And that kind of product exists. You can kind of set up your own little compound right there and get a property that's not that old and get the pool and great setup near shopping, good schools. A lot of people look at that house, were interested in the school zones. And so that actually takes me into our next point. Murfreesboro is pretty well known for their school system. This is going to be Rutherford County. There's a high school called Central Magnet School in Murfreesboro. It's the second highest rated public school, high school in the state of Tennessee. It's right here in Murfreesboro. I've actually got a nephew who goes to school there. And let me just pull you on the map over here and show you a little bit about what the school system has to offer. Just looking at niche.com, this is Murfreesboro, and you're going to see all these are all schools, and they're rated like A minus, A minus. I mean, you have a lot. These are all A-rated schools. So in the Blackman section over here, right where it intersects near 840, you got Blackman High School, Blackman Elementary. These are both A schools, according to niche.com. But you have there's like at least a dozen A-rated schools all around Murfreesboro. And then your historic area of downtown, Murfreesboro is going to be right over here. Again, you've got lots of A schools. So worth doing your diligence, but if schools are part of the equation for you, you got some good options out there, according to niche.com. It's just an interesting little fact for everybody to know about.
Sure. And then also remember that Blackman High School is actually a really good football program. So if you have somebody that plays football, they're usually in the state championship every year.
Love it, man. Well, what else do we need to talk about when we are really thinking about life in Murfreesboro?
Sure. I think the last piece is if you were trying to be near that medical center parkway, that's where a lot of your shopping, that's where your restaurants and coffee shops are. If you're trying to be near that, and by the way, they're continuing to grow, there is a neighborhood just north of there called Queensbury. Crescent Home Builders out of South Carolina. Really good products to take a look at, just to round everything out.
Tucker, are there any famous people from Murfreesboro?
I'll tell you what, Jimi Hendrix doesn't live there. I'm going to let you know that. Chris Young, who's a country music artist, lives there. And David Price is from there, who of course plays professional baseball. Oh, and forget about this. 2 people from the Disney Channel are from there. And I couldn't pick out anybody from the Disney Channel, but I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. It feels like a suburb of Nashville, Tennessee. It's not that far away. It's very connected to Nashville. Other things that I like about Murfreesboro is that if you have any reason to go down 24 southeast towards Chattanooga, well, you're on your way. If you're going towards some of the lakes down that direction, you're on your way. You're saving some of that drive time. So I think regionally, it does lead to a lot of places that people go down that 24 corridor. So I like that. Cost of living is going to be a little more affordable than really Nashville. Housing is definitely more affordable. Your dollar goes further. You got solid schools. You have a historic downtown. So you got some good things to like about it. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm glad you covered where other people go, which is really Tim's Ford Lake. I know one of your clients moved from Murfreesboro to Tim's Ford Lake. Check out our Tim's Ford Lake video if that's of interest with you, because there are a lot of people that do move here and they still want to have boat access. Check out Murfreesboro.
I love it. I want to say thanks for watching, guys. If this kind of info is interesting to you, please don't forget to subscribe and follow along with us. I'm Clay and Tucker, and our team, we help buyers and sellers every single day make their move to Nashville. So if you're thinking about Tennessee and curious about it, we are here to help answer your questions. Feel free to send us a comment. Let us know what you're interested in or curious about, or where we're misguided, or things that you want to learn more about, and let us know. We love to your comments. Till next time, hope to show you around town.
What?